Hoping for an economic baby boom. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I've got my piping hot morning stein of coffee, and it's a nice, cold, and rainy day here in Brisbane. Now, I thought we'd have a look at this one article from the ABC discussing the Federal Treasurer's hopes among other things, of a baby boom. Could we see it? So forecast difficult economic recovery after the pandemic and recession amid a slump in population growths and low interest rates. Now, population growth. Here in Australia, a big portion of our growth, or the majority of our growth, for recent times, has come from net overseas migration. Our population, natural population growth hasn't been high enough. Now, I thought before we go through this article, I'll bring up this chart here. This is showing you the fertility rates in the 70s. And you can see here, what do we have? I'll go blue on blue. Yeah, that'll work. So Australia was between 2 and 3 children. Back in the 70s, you got Russia. The Soviet USSR. Shouldn't this map change as well from that period? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Canada, America, Greenland, and Iceland, UK, all at between 2 and 3, which is what you want, which is above replacement rate. Look at here, some parts of Africa over 8, 7 to 8. Here, look at China, 5 to 6. China, 5 to 6. Now that's changed. And look at all the issues they're having now because of their one-child policy. Mexico, 6 to 7. So it definitely was a different world. You only had a few European countries, some of the Scandinavian countries, that were, and some of the ones in the Mediterranean, and it looks like, what was it, Czechoslovakia, was at 1 to 2, or was it Czech? It was a split up there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So you had a very few countries below replacement rate. All of them were between 2 and 3. The replacement rate for a civilization is 2.1 children, roughly, per woman. 2.1. One for you, one for dad, one for a tenth of a child for the country. One for Johnny. But of course, that's changed. Now, this data that we're looking at here is actually pretty old. It's 6 years old. So it's gotten steadily worse since then, particularly with the introduction, the decline in testosterone of a lot of men in the Western world. And among other things. So let's have a look. Look how much of the world is below replacement rate, between 1 and 2 children. You've got Australia. We're there. We're here. The US is just above, and that's, a big portion of that is to do with the Latin community there, I understand. Russia, most of Europe, except for France. And I wonder why France isn't reaching that lower population. Well, you know why. It's to do with immigrants from African countries going there. That's propping it up. But even Africa is going down. Look at Africa. No, nothing in the pink anymore. We've lost red and purple. Red and purple are gone. There's no averages from 7 to 8 or no averages from above 8 anymore in the world. So Here's one thing. You've got all the anti-natalists, all the idiot lefties, all the fools saying, oh, we're overpopulating the world. We're all going to die. They'll be the first lining up for the Soylent Green re-release and all these horror movies from the 70s. But we're going to reach peak population of the planet in about 2065, between 2050, and then it'll steadily decline. It will steadily decline. Unless our quality of life and our technical ability ratchets far back, which I can't see happening without a cataclysmic event. So there we have it, guys. Australia currently isn't at replacement population with our birth rate. That's why they need to bring people back in. The problem is when countries hit below replacement, and Japan is one of the worst. They're really bad. You can't maintain your culture. You can't maintain it over time. Some civilizations have collapsed at these low levels and have never recovered. And one thing I find quite interesting is all the people that are advocating, critical of, particularly some Europeans, the YouTubers advocating for the great replacement, or they're getting pushed aside. How many kids do they have? I need to have a shot of coffee. Because you'll find a lot of them don't have any children. A lot of them aren't even married. You know. So where are Rachel and I? So we've had our 5th child. So here we go. We're doing okay. We're like Africa. We're like Africa. There you go. In 2014. Be interesting to see what it's like today. It'd probably be even worse. So let's have a look at this article and see if there are hopes of a baby boom. A baby boom coming out of this. Because, I mean, I've been saying that before. That would be one of the great outcomes. You get people stuck at home, you're bored, what do? You know? Bit of hanky-panky, boom, you get a kid. Boom, you get a kid. It's just that easy. Well, it should be. It should be if people don't wait until they've hit the wall and their fertility goes off the chart. I mean, that's another thing that's not even taught at school anymore. Just how dramatic, particularly for girls, they're all pushed. You know, you can have a career, you can have this, you can have everything. And then it's really sad when you see these women who are 30, going on to 40, want to have their first child. And it's going to get a lot harder. And then people they're shelling out fortune for IVF and all of these things. When, you know, maybe if they had started a bit younger, they wouldn't have had these issues. They wouldn't have had these costs. And there's one way, you know, you have your kids when you're younger. When they're in high school, then you start your career. It's not the end of the world, everyone. You know, life is a balancing act. That's it. But the sad thing is we're in a situation now where both people need to work, both people need a career, both people need everything, just to even break into the Australian dream of having a house. And the media will often tell you, oh, children are so expensive, you're costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, yada, yada, yada. Which, you just don't spoil them, guys. It's really simple. You know, just don't spoil them. The Federal Treasurer is keen on a pandemic baby boom, urging Australians to have more children, if for no other reason than to help grow the population and the economy. Well, he's right. He's right. We need to have population growth here in Australia. For the size of our nation, I don't have the map here, for the size of our nation, our population density is very low. We're all along the east coast. What if they opened up more parts of the nation, had a land rush? Wouldn't that solve housing problems? If they ran high-speed rail and NBN to parts of the city and then just started giving away land, have a land rush. While not going as far as former Coalition Treasurer Peter Costello's infamous call for couples to have a child for the country, Josh Frydenberg said the closure of international borders had halved Australia's population growth. Well, what they need to do, because I was jokingly saying to Rachel, I don't know, I was teasing her about something, maybe some housework she hadn't done or just complaining. You know, as you do in a married couple, you pick your fights sometimes. And she's going, I've got 5 children, I'm busy, yada, yada, yada. I go, what, do you want a medal? And she goes, yes, I want a medal. And I go, you know, the last time women who had 5 children got a medal. You know, maybe we need to bring that back for Australia. Population growth has been integral to almost 3 decades of economic growth prior to the virus, the lockdown, and Australia's recession. So I wouldn't go so fast to say, like Peter Costello, one for the mother, one for the father, and one for the country. But I can say people should feel encouraged about the future and more children that we have across the country together with our migration. We will build our population growth, and that will be good for the economy, he said. I think the best thing we can do to encourage more children being born across the country is obviously to create a strong economy for them to be born into. Well, a lot of people are afraid. A lot of people are afraid. I've talked to educated professionals that don't want to have children because they're afraid of the environment, or they don't want to, you know, bring them into this horrible world. And in some ways I feel real sad about that people are falling to that trap. They're missing the opportunity that is having children. It completely changes your life. It really does. It flips all your perspectives on the head. You suddenly realize what's important and what isn't important. And it can be immensely rewarding. It can be immensely rewarding helping a child learn and giving them a good childhood, you know. And the problem is your bad habits, sure, they're reflected back on you. It's a tiny little clone of yourself that knows how to manipulate you. But, you know, it's the way it is, guys. It's the way it is. It's sad that it's put off now, and you've got whole cohorts not even wanting to have children. In his speech to the National Press Club, Mr. Frydenberg said population growth was expected to slow to 0.6% in 2021, the lowest rate since 1617. His speech comes a day after Frydenberg delivered the government's economic update, revealing Australia's record and biggest budget deficit since World War II, and is on track to record an even larger one this financial year. While the international border remains closed, one of the assumptions in Treasury's forecasts is that it will reopen from January 1, 2021 to migrants and international students. So could that be the hope for the housing sector? Are people going to hold on to those investment properties until this date? And then what happens if you have another flare-up? It's also based on the assumption Melbourne and Mitchell Shire will only be in stage 3 lockdown for 6 weeks and will be well on the way to opening up their economies again by mid-December. Mr. Frydenberg said that unlike during the GFC, the government does not have as many options available to it to kickstart economic growth and reduce the unemployment rates. While we are seeing early signs of recovery in the jobs market, the unemployment rate will still sit high for some time, he said. During the GFC, the Reserve Bank cut interest rates by 425 basis points. Today, this would be the equivalent of up to $100 billion of fiscal support over 12 months, or very heavy negative interest. We simply don't have the luxury this time around, and we also don't have a strong flow of migrants to support growth. There you go. That's the problem. That's the problem. Our birth rate has dropped down. So we've become dependent on migrants coming over, and a lot of them, they come over, they want to buy a house, and that results in a bubble in this sector. That's where the money supply is created. It's a bubble in the sector. There you go, housing. All of us pay for it, rather than slower, more methodical growth. The Treasurer said the government's plan was instead to continue to provide its financial support and create the most dynamic and most flexible economy possible. Well, that'll be interesting. That will be interesting. If they reduce some of the burdens on business, that will be encouraged. The shock in unemployment is considerably sharper than what Australia experienced during the recessions of the 80s and 90s, he said. The fall in GDP and employment are around twice as big and occurred over a matter of months, not years. Frydenberg pointed to the overarching JobMaker plan and Job Trainer Skills program, as well as JobKeeper and Job Seeker schemes, as ways the government was supporting job creation or upskilling people while they were out of work. Without JobKeeper and other measures, the unemployment rate would have been 5 percentage points higher than we have seen, he said. It has saved 700,000 jobs. Yes, but what good is a job if it's at 0 hours? What productivity is that creating in the economy? Have you really saved that job, or have you just put off the unemployment until a time in the future? And what burden are you going to be placing? Why? Here's the thing. Having kids are great, but there are going to be people that will say, no, I'm not going to birth my children into a country with so much debt. I'll go overseas. I'll go somewhere else. What do you think, everyone? What do you think? Do you think our population growth is an issue? Would you rather Australia just has a lower population? Or do you think we need to increase our population to have bigger markets, greater competition, and, a slower, more natural growth rate? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, everyone. Please share your stories about having children and how it's improved your lives. I'd like to hear some positive stories from people, not just everyone who's just never considered or given up on it. Share some positive stories so maybe you can let people realize it's not all changing pooey nappies and kids fighting and running late for things. Although that does seem to be a big part of it. And I do feel like I'm constantly telling them to clean their rooms. And they have a lot of creative play throughout the house. But that's part of life, guys. We all did it. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you next time.